Welcome to IMC Live, everybody. This is the interactive webinar series hosted by the Industrial Marketing Collective. We're here to help you connect with your peers, sharpen your skills, and drive results in your work. I'm Peyton Warren, Marketing Director at Gorilla 76, the industrial marketing agency, and I'm one of your IMC Live hosts. Last year, which was only a few weeks ago, I teased that Gorilla is going to be launching a new website in 2026. And what I didn't share is that this project has been in the works for us since, goodness, Randall, has it, 2022 probably.
We officially started actually working on it at the end of 2024 and
Okay.
actually started some development last year and then abandoned it.
Yeah. It's been a journey. And like all the while, Gorilla has proudly launched, I mean, a dozen or more websites for our clients in that time. Um, we've been supporting their web work all on the way, but we've always put our own on the back burner. And well, it's a new year. So new year, new me, and we're doing it. So it's in our own strategic roadmap. We have set the goals, we've prioritized it. And chances are high that many industrial marketers like yourselves are embarking on a similar journey this year. So let's set ourselves up for success, right? And speaking of setting yourself up for success, at the time that we're recording this, we are 40 days away from the event that you ought to have on your calendar for Q1 2026, which that's the Industrial Marketing Summit. And I'm talking directly to the marketers listening who work in manufacturing, engineering, or other technical B2B industries. If you've ever felt like most marketing conferences just don't reflect the reality of your job, there's long sales cycles, complex products, the lean teams that you're working on, this one is different. And if you haven't been yet, you've just got to go and see it for yourself. The Industrial Marketing Summit is built specially for industrial marketers. It's practical, it's grounded, it's heavy on the real world strategy that you can actually take back and use. And the sessions, the workshops, even the conversations in between the sessions are all designed around the challenges that we are dealing with on the daily. So it's hosted by Gorilla 76, which is why I'm talking about it, and our partners at True Marketing. And these are two teams that, genuinely understand the space. We've worked in it for, 15 plus years. And it brings together a community of marketers who speak the same language and are willing to share what's really working. So if that sounds like something you get value from, just check out industrialmarketingsummit.com. It's happening in Austin, Texas, March 3rd through 5th. And it's absolutely worth your time. And every year the weather's really great at that time of year. So we're talking about ice. I'm ready to get to a little bit of sunshine. So now let's introduce our guest today and make this session absolutely worth your time. So joining us on the IMC Live stage, I've got two senior gorillas, Randall and Kevin. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. I'm just noticing I've got like 10 more people in the waiting room, so they missed our little intro here, but they're joining us now. All right, so we have got Randall and Kevin joining us, and we are going to be talking about planning for a website overhaul. I really just want to turn this over to you as quickly as possible because, like, these projects are huge, and there's all these layers. There's so much complexity. How do y'all like to center yourself on a behemoth of a project like this? And y'all don't mind me taking notes as we go through this because, like I said, I'm living this too.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually have, if you went to IMS last year, I apologize because this is going to look a little bit familiar, but I've repurposed our slide deck and I'm going to share my screen, but I don't want this to be us just talking at you. I would really like you all to feel like you leave today with somewhat of a framework for the early planning stages of your website because it's the most critical part for success later. I mean, there's lots of reasons why a website can be painful, get delayed, or be abandoned and start over. But hopefully, this is something that's going to help you do that early planning and feel a little more confident and avoid some of that pain down the road. So yeah, don't let the presentation feel like you can't ask questions. So this is planning for a website overhaul that delivers business results. And this is the general steps that we're going to go through today. Um, First is identify the need and set goals. To a lot of us, this is going to feel pretty intuitive, outdated, which is a perfectly valid reason. You're going to look at your website and either, like we're not getting good leads, things like that, and feel like, that's a good indicator. But we'll get into the details of that here in just a minute. Next, we're going to talk about stakeholder buy-in and how important it is and to clearly define who your stakeholders are. Then we're going to talk about planning content, and then we're going to get into a little site mapping and even share some behind the scenes work that Google is doing on their website currently, so you can see how we're handling this part of it. So step one is identifying the need and setting goals. And this is how you're going to decide, like, is it actually worth it to go through this process? I'm pretty sure everybody either is scared of or has been through and knows that it can be painful and frustrating. Um, so yeah, here's some signs, time for a website overhaul. And we've listed out a few here. Things like decline traffic and conversions, poor user experience, outdated design, your CMS is confusing, or every time you go in and you make a minor edit on your website, something on another page, totally unrelated breaks, or your business goals are changing and your website isn't reflective of that. This could be you've spun up an entirely new product offering, or you're going into a new market, and your site isn't really reflective of that anymore, or you're shifting your services from selling a commodity to selling like a consultative service or something like that. Um, yeah, so user experience is another really important one, and this can be you can like learn about this from Google Analytics, heat map software, customer feedback, internal team feedback. The users of your website are varied. It's not just people that are there looking for your product. It could be your sales team. It could be the people that are maintaining content on your website, like subject matter experts who are writing articles for your blog or learning center. So don't just think of this as like just people like Googling you and landing on your website. This is everyone. Any questions here so far? Does anybody have any other ideas for what would make you feel like you need to update your website?
Randall, I've got something to add in. Oh, well,
Yeah,
Kevin, I saw
go
you on
ahead.
mute too, but I just was gonna say your audio is like a little bit choppy. I don't know if there's
Oh,
a
really?
connection or yeah, but we're hearing you. I just wanted to flag it. But
Okay.
I'll
I'll
let
move
Kevin
the
jump in.
Yeah. So we have the point here about declining traffic and conversions. That could be an indicator you need a new site. One thing to keep in mind, this is true. However, traffic is declining on most sites across the web because of AI search and all of the new like ChatGPT, all of the AI conversation bots. And um, with that, though, I think it's important to know some of the benchmarks for what we're seeing traffic-wise decline. Like it's pretty normal to see about 40% traffic decline year over year. So at least compared from 24 to 25. So if you go into Google Analytics and you use their like compare feature to look at traffic from one year to the next, if you see a pretty significant drop off, um, it's not the biggest red flag that it would have been maybe 5 years ago. One thing too that you can look at is the source of that traffic. You can see how much has come from ChatGPT or other AI sources, and that can help explain some of the drop off. But also some of it is just zero click behavior. People searching something either in Google's AI overviews or in a tool like ChatGPT, and they're consuming the information but not clicking through to the site immediately from that source. They might still be getting to your site or to another channel of yours, like a LinkedIn page or something like that, after the initial AI search. but it's not going to be attributed like directly or referral traffic like it has in the past. So that's an important thing to remember. I do like that Randall's mentioned like poor user experience because there's still a lot you can see from the people who are on your site. You can still look at heat maps from Microsoft Clarity to see where people are clicking. You can even within GA4, if you have scroll depth set up or different events, and you can see how people are behaving on your site. And that can definitely be impacting um, like the overall experience. And so just things to keep in mind, like we have changing traffic behavior and click behavior, and it might not be the same indicator that it was a few years ago. Um, yeah.
Speaking of
Yeah.
bots, I just saw in the chat, is there a way to know if or how often AI references your site? And if you all have Microsoft Clarity, have gotten this down, look somebody.
Hey, Randall, you're still chopping out a little bit. I don't know if it's just that mic's not liking you or something. Yeah, I think I was gonna say too on that same point. So Joel mentioned Microsoft Clarity. We love Microsoft Clarity. It's free. And we actually switched to that from Lucky Orange as like our kind of go-to heat map software. But GA4, I actually just looked at this for the entire portfolio of Gorilla clients. So it was like over 30 different manufacturers, some of them multiple divisions and different things like that. And if you go to GA4, you go to a traffic acquisition report, you can then filter that report, set your dates, filter that report by source, and you can use like a regex regex. I'll post it in the chat here that I used, and then filter it by medium. So like basically I'll post a screenshot about this in the collective for sure, with like the exact report building steps that I followed. But you can look at it, and I was actually really, really surprised at one, the search volume, guys, comparing year over year from AI did increase for every single client in our portfolio. So 2024 traffic for AI like referrals was lower than 2025. But generally speaking, the amount, like the percentage of traffic you're getting from an AI click is like less than 1%. And I mean, like it's sometimes 0.0 something percent of the traffic. It's still increasing. And I think we're at the beginning of like an exponential curve. But like Kevin was saying, like a lot of it is zero click. They don't have to click through your website necessarily to consume your content. So yeah, don't be afraid of this declining traffic too much.
What's
Yeah.
interesting is Google is reporting their total traffic volume is still increasing. Like organic search volume is still increasing a lot. It's just people aren't clicking to a site. But I'd say another like it's definitely still a red flag if people aren't converting on your site. Like if they are getting to your site and they're not converting, they're not calling, they're not filling out a form, especially if they're getting to a specific landing page where that's supposed to happen, that is still a red flag.
Yep. And you might start to figure out that maybe you don't need to do a full website rebuild, but maybe it's just specific pages too. So the audit in the beginning tells you a lot about like how big of a project this truly needs to be. And that. So we'll see. Randall, have you sorted out your mic yet?
We'll see. Just say something. If it's still cutting out, is it?
Yeah, it's not cutting out, but you sound a little bit. I don't even. Someone else with more audio experience needs to tell.
The gain is high.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
How about now?
Maybe still a little high.
Really? Okay.
That sounds better.
All right. I think it was a USB problem and I kept turning up the gain and hopefully we're good now.
I think so.
It's much clearer. I think this will work better.
Okay, amazing. I'm so sorry, everyone.
That's okay.
All right. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why you might want to redo your website. After you've decided that it actually is worth the time and there's enough issues that you need to just build a new one, it's time to set some goals. And this is a critical second step is you want to align everyone that you're going to be working with on the website from owners of your company to any subject matter experts, even customers. You want to get all of that input so that you know what your end state is, and you're always aiming at that goal through the whole process. Because over 3 to 6 months time, it's easy to lose sight of those goals as you're going through this process. So it's very, very important that you spend a good amount of time and a good amount of mental effort here and clearly define these goals for everyone that's going to be involved. Speaking of goals and stakeholders, you want to get stakeholder involvement and buy-in very, very early on in the process. And this is where you want to clearly define who's going to actually have input on the website. Because if you don't define this, everybody's going to want to get their piece of the pie and have their opinion reflected on the website or what they think is important reflected on the website. And that's a lot of people. So, you don't want the website to end up being a design by committee type decision because that takes forever and everything gets watered down. So you want key stakeholders clearly identified and know who decision makers are and who's going to be involved and that they dedicate time to working on the website with you. And if you get aligned early, you avoid a lot of pain later on in the process. There's nothing worse than like you're a few weeks out from launch, you're putting the finishing touches on your website and someone shows it to somebody else and they hate everything or they have really big issues with what you've done so far. So just make sure that you've got all of your stakeholders ready. How do you get your stakeholders bought in? You've got to highlight the challenges of the website. And oftentimes this means tying these back to business objectives. Again, declining traffic. We already touched on this, that this is just like a thing that's happening to everybody, likely because of AI and LLMs. Poor conversion rates, hard to track conversions or the customer journey. Like you might be getting hundreds of leads a month on your website, but they might be existing customers downloading like guides for how to use your equipment, and like that doesn't really count as like a new business lead. You could be getting customer complaints. You could be getting complaints from your sales team. There might be sales materials that they want to share with people on the website, and they want to send them a URL, and every time they go to find it, it's hard for them to find. So those are just some examples of current challenges. There's a lot of reasons. And then you want to link these to business goals. So these are kind of like, here's the outcomes that we expect to have after we go through this process. Increase in quality leads, increase in revenue, improve your brand credibility and perception. This is a big one from my world as a designer. This is hard to measure. But it's kind of one of those things, it when you see it, like you feel proud to share your website with people instead of like, yeah, you might be able to find stuff on the website and you're hesitant to share it. You can reduce reliance on sales and support staff to answer repetitive questions. So your website can be a knowledge base for your customers, and more opportunity to automate with better integration with CRM and sales tools. So oftentimes one of the big goals of redoing a website isn't just making it the front end better, but it's better integrating it into your like customer tracking software and your overall tech stack so you can know how your website is contributing to your business goals. And then lastly, Kevin, maybe you have a little bit more to say about this, but you want to quantify the opportunity here. Make some projections on what the return on investment on this is, or how many new leads you expect to get, attracting new customers, etc. Kevin, you got anything to tack on here?
Yeah, I'd say you can present this however the main stakeholder likes to to receive this type of information. Like if you want to show them specific heat maps, like if you want to show them Microsoft Clarity recordings of somebody bouncing from a conversion page and saying, hey, that was a lost opportunity. That could have been a customer if they receive information that way better. Or you could even just do some conservative quick math and say, hey, if we improved the experience of this landing page or this conversion page, we could see this percentage increase in leads coming in. And so there's a lot of different ways you can do this. It's really defining what leadership values and how you want to present that. But it's really, I think, just showing like lost opportunity and what the potential would be and how easy you could improve with some simple improvements on the site.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to, like what Kevin was saying, like what does your leadership team find valuable, especially if this is something you're trying to, convince somebody to do, like you think you need to do some web work, but it's obviously a lot of times websites are an expensive project. They're very time consuming, and folks are just sensitive about them, making changes to them. They're very public, so the end result is like high stakes. It feels more high stakes, even though it's not cemented in stone. It's something that can be changed, and you can edit. But thinking really hard about just how you want to pitch it internally and the sort of metrics that actually matter. And we're going to be talking about that a lot, actually, on the February 5th call. So our next IMC Live with Katie Harlan and how she did that from the product marketing perspective. But whether you're marketing externally or doing a project internally, you're always marketing. It's always something that you need to kind of pitch and present.
Yeah, and speaking of pitching and presenting, one of the ways you can get people bought in, from leadership to sales to pretty much anyone in the company, is to show what it could be. And one of the ways to do that is show examples. So you could find case studies or success stories of other companies redoing their website. And oftentimes you'll need to go seek out a web design and development agency, and they will post case studies and show you before and after of companies that are maybe similar to yours. You could also show what your competition is doing. If there is a competitor that has a website that you feel is doing a lot better and is easy to use, show that as an example of this is what we're up against, and we know we can make it even better than what they're doing. And just find inspiration in general. Your website should make you feel proud and make your internal team feel excited to share it with people. And that should also come through to your customers, because ultimately it's a reflection of your business. And a lot of times it's the first interaction that someone might have with your company. So you're setting first impressions here. And that experience is a reflection on what the experience of working with your company is going to be. So showing examples is a great way to get people bought in and get them excited.
I just dropped another example, because it doesn't always have to be your competitors either. It could be just a website that you like. I just dropped an example in the chat, navbar.gallery, which was really inspiring for me as I was thinking through what did we want even just our navigation to look like. And we're going to show you where we're at in that process with the Gorilla website right now. But you can pull inspiration from any website. You just need to think about the user experience you're trying to create.
Yeah. Lastly, for getting buy-in, you just want to address concerns up front. So if you schedule a meeting and you're going to try and pitch this website project, you want to address these concerns before they are even brought up. So you kind of want to do some mind reading here. Justify the budget with those ROI projections, how you're going to mitigate risk. Everyone's always concerned, if we make a bunch of big changes to the website, is that going to tank where we're showing up in Google, or is that going to fundamentally change some expectations that our customers have built up over the years about where they can find information on the website? And also, how much time is this going to take So setting clear timelines up front, even if you don't feel super comfortable with it yet because you don't even have a sitemap, but you're starting to like build this picture of like, this is what we're planning. It's probably going to change at some point throughout the process, but like, this is our current best guess. So it's always good to like come to the table with those things and show that you've really thought this through from beginning to end. So just start setting expectations for roles very, very early. Think about who's going to be involved. People are going to need to dedicate time to the website, especially subject matter experts. Okay, so now we're getting into like actually doing something. And content planning is a big part of this because your website really, when you boil it down to its most simple aspect, it's just content. If you ignore all of the images and interactions and everything else, it's really the words that you're putting on the page. So it's important to plan around this. So you want to audit your existing content, identify what's working, what's not, what's outdated, what's inaccurate. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can use gut and what you know about your product and your business to identify what's outdated. You can look at analytics like Google Analytics or Microsoft Clarity, Hotjar, Lucky Orange. There are a million different ways to like see what people are doing on your website and how pages are performing. And then you can also get feedback from sales and customers. Getting feedback from customers is a little bit difficult and a little bit weird. Like nobody really ever gets asked like, hey, what do you think of our website? But if you do have customers that, you know, are willing to talk to you about it and say, yeah, these things were easy to do and I found this difficult, that's like really, really rare, but also incredibly valuable. And then you want to develop your plan around this. So you know what's outdated, so you can flag that as like, okay, we need to dive deep or we need to find a subject matter expert to, you know, tell us what the facts are on this. You want to focus speaking directly to your buyer, unless you're talking like you have a vendors section on your website or a partner section or something like that. But generally, you want to speak directly to your customer. You don't really want to just like say, me, we're awesome, we're awesome. You want to address their problems. Identify where you're going to have deep dive technical content. If that's something that your customers need or want, definitely have it on your website, but that's going to take more work to develop that content. And then map that content to SEO goals. So for each page or each article that you're going to have, it should have some kind of goal. And it is going to be, there's always going to be some sort of SEO goal, or attempting to show up in like AI search results. And that's going to tell you what keywords you're going to target. And then determining other broader goals of each piece of content. Is it education? Is it conversions? Is it product awareness? Is it brand awareness? It could be a lot of different things, but for every single page or piece of content on your website, there should be a goal that you can clearly state.
Yeah, I think like for like the Gorilla's perspective, we thought a lot about like, how are people coming to our website? Why are people coming to our website? How do they get there? You know, and like if people are coming to our homepage, that direct link, they're often coming there because there's like word of mouth. There's like a genuine like brand awareness already. They're probably looking for the services that we provide and looking to work with us either as a potential client or as a potential employee. Whereas when we are getting like where we're getting the most SEO value is from our learning center, and they're not starting on our homepage at all. Their first page scene is a blog article, is a resource we've created, is a guide that's been written out, and they're starting there. So they don't see, you know, the homepage. They're not getting like that same experience. And so we're thinking a lot about, you know, just, okay, if that's their landing page, how do we then guide them there? What are we thinking about in terms of like, where could they click next? What would be most interesting for them to click into next? Is it always just that CTA of request a consultation call? No, it's not. And sure, maybe you want that in the top of your navigation there, you know, contact us. but you do need to be thinking about like, how do you continue to build like almost a relationship with this person, to let them continue to get to know you, because so much of how buyers want to interact with people, or with companies is, they want to gather the information on their own terms. And so make it easy on them to do that, and help like think through like what their pathway could be from there. So, if you like this content, you might like this content. Oh, if you like this content, you might like to join Industrial Marketing Collective Live. Things like that. Like, we're not just always pushing request a quote, it's just thoughtful.
Yeah.
Place.
One of the interesting things that we thought through when we were working through our sitemap and thinking about our navigation was we kind of split up our website traffic into two core audiences, and that's people who are interested in being customers and people who are interested in working at Gorilla. So people who want to get hired here. And so we literally split our navigation into those two things, and started organizing our pages from that like starting point.
Should I show? I mean, I know we want to talk about the technical sitemap. I mean, do you want me to pull that up here, Randall, or?
Yeah, we're just about there. So I think once you have these goals like this, you want to prioritize them. And how you prioritize them is really up to, what your business goals are and what your current priorities are and what your future priorities are going to be. But always try and like couch all of the decisions that you're making in your website around these goals and around these priorities, and like keep them like in a document such as a sitemap, to remind yourself of these, because again, it's easy to lose sight of this stuff when you're in the midst of a very long project like this that can span over several months. And lastly, this is probably one of my favorite phrases. If you work at Gorilla, you're probably tired of hearing me say this, but like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So don't aim for perfection, and just do it one little chunk at a time, because a website is a very big thing. It's kind of like trying to eat an elephant. And just remember, they're not set in stone. They can and should evolve over time. Okay, so Peyton, now we are to site mapping, and I think this is a great place where we can start showing some of the work that we've been doing. First, I want to define what a sitemap is for, and then we'll show you some examples of what we're doing right now. So it's a map for you and your team. So it should communicate not only site structure, but goals, priorities, features that you want, keyword targets, meta descriptions. As much detail as you can include in your sitemap, the better. Because you're going to be thankful in the end when you're like, oh, what's the meta description going to be for this page, one page of 100 pages on your website? You know that because you answered that question a long time ago. Yeah, so before we show you our like high fidelity sitemap and our technical sitemap, I think it's important to understand that like you can absolutely start with like pen and paper or sticky notes on a whiteboard or a digital whiteboarding tool, and it can be very messy at the beginning, and just iterate on it over time. Think of it like if you ever took a drawing class or something like that. Like you rarely start drawing the perfect lines right from the start. You're drawing very lightly and it's messy. And you just build that up over time until you have a really nice detailed picture. And we already talked about goals and things, but some of the stuff that you want to include is like detailed product pages, technical resources, case study page templates, landing page templates. These are really specific to the industrial space. Like almost every website's going to have one of these on here if you're an industrial manufacturing company. But just listing out some common ones here, and then pointing out the fact that you should probably make two sitemaps, a visual one, which we're going to show you, and a technical one. And a visual sitemap is probably what you've seen before, and I have an example here, or I had an example. Give me 2 seconds to get that pulled back up. I'm actually, Peyton, if you want to get the other one ready while I'm pulling this visual one up.
Yeah, got it. here, so I can, and I actually have the visual one here, so I can just share
Oh, you have it already. Cool. Perfect.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm probably not going to be as good of a driver as you are, but yeah. So here's your visual one if you want to
Yeah.
talk
So
about this. But I mean, like you were saying, Randall, we thought a lot about like what. So here's Gorilla's website right now. It's not the worst, but there's a lot of things that we want to change about it. And you can see, Julie, I think earlier asked about like how many things do you want to have in like your top line navigation, and you really like depending on the navigation that you choose. I'd really like Randall to weigh in on this too, but like you want to think like you don't want this to start to snake down your page. It needs to fit and it needs to be friendly for the average with desktop, and you also need to have a mobile friendly menu. But there are other nav options. So like if you just have a ton of stuff that needs to be within one click. So say like, which a lot of manufacturers really do because you have multiple product lines that need to be featured and things like that. You want to consider something that's not so much here. Let me just see if I can even, why is it not even pulling up for me? But we have, wow, is our website just not working right now? But maybe it's just me but these pop down into like little menus. So maybe someone else should share, but maybe you want to have something that expands to much more of the screen so that you have more real estate and you can have an expanded version of your navigation. But I think like Max here, my take personally would be like 5 things.
Simpler is always better.
So how did we simplify it? Here's our new simple menu. We have 3 sections. So working together, working at Gorilla, and education. And these will expand. There's more content that needs to be shared other than that. But again, we're just trying to help guide people. Like if you get to us, we don't want you to have to like then decide, oh, well, which one is relevant to me. Let's make that an easier distinction for folks. Randall, anything else you want to?
Yeah. Oftentimes these visual sitemaps can end up looking more complicated than what it actually is. So if this were going to be a navigation, there would be basically 4 things in the navigation. There would be a drop-down menu for working together, one for working at Gorilla, and one for education. And we would probably call this like resources or learning center or community or something like that, to be determined on what the name is going to be. And then a call to action as a button, which is going to be like get a quote or something like that, or schedule a consultation, and then the logo. And that's it. Which avoids things like choice overload and all of that. But a benefit of making a visual sitemap like this is I would like to think there are a lot of people like me who are more visual learners. In a lot of ways, it's easier to look at something like this and understand how all these different pages relate to one another. Maybe how you're going to interlink between them. And sometimes it's just a lot easier to consume and get a really good bird's eye view without all of the technical details that you're going to see in a technical sitemap, or just kind of like abstracted away for you. So that's why I like to make 2. And this one's really easy to like move things around. Like, well, what if we like move this page over here? Well, you just drag that box around and you don't break a complicated spreadsheet. So I think, Peyton, if you want to pull up that technical sitemap, I think that'd be a good thing to show now.
Yeah, I can pull that up. And then Dale had a really good question in the chat. I just want to say is like folks asked like, what are you trying to improve on the Gorilla site? So like, why are we even like, what's so bad about this besides the menu is not opening when I want it to? But the really like the big thing is this website was designed a long time ago and we have expanded our content greatly. Case studies didn't exist when this website was originally designed. Podcasts and events didn't exist when this website was first originally designed. Careers and culture, this has been an expanded section. This used to just be a careers page. So what we've done over the years is we've Frankensteined our own template, and it's just starting to break, and the user experience is getting a little bit fractured, and we were just trying to be proactive and stay ahead of that, which I think for us, is really important as an agency that provides this sort of service. We want to make sure we're walking the walk, and you're talking the talk. But yeah, so here's our technical sitemap. And if you're on this call and you've done a website with me in the past, you've seen something similar to this. So like Randall said, this is a map for the internal team. Why are you doing this? And so like as we've expanded the website, some of our content is kind of repetitive. Like we have this page on our website called a Who We Help and How page, which really is our homepage. And so do we need 2 pages that say the same thing, or do we just need a more cohesive homepage that incorporates all of that sort of thing? And so we've come through here. The way that I have my own color coding. So, I mean, you're definitely going to want to like adapt this for what you have. And I have the template here that I'll drop in the chat, but placement. So like, this is just for everyone to be very aware. This is going to be in the navigation. This is not. This is within 1 click. This is going to be interlinked on the web page. Like this, some of these, the details tab here, I'm telling like, we just don't want, like, we're going to remove it. So I have all of these options here. So this is a new page we're adding. We need to rework this page a lot. There's no change that's needed. And you see that this is the case on some of our content. We don't necessarily need to change everything. We just want to focus where it is, and maybe it's getting moved. Yeah, relocation, and then remove or consolidate. And then I added, the sections. So again, working together, working at Gorilla Education, come back to the visual sitemap. You're seeing that same thing here. So we created this visual sitemap, honestly, to help us talk about it to the team and make sure they were understanding what we were trying to do. And then pages here, the template. So if we're designing a specific template that will then be reused on multiple pages, I think these are all the different templates that we're planning to make for our website, what level of priority it is. And then because of the navigation that we're deciding to do, we're going to have a little description text. I don't know, Randall, if we want to share that, but we can always drop that to later, because I know we're at 10:47 and folks probably need to bounce here soon. But yeah, then we've got the URL, the slug, and we start to get into all of like the different copywriting and keyword notes down here at the end. And then I've got, of course, got comments and stuff because it's a Google sheet, and lots of notes throughout to note all the nuance. But let me grab this and I'll drop this in the chat for folks. But yeah, I'm behind on the chat, but any questions that I've missed or anything that we need to circle back on, Kevin or Randall?
I just want to hammer home the point that like a website is an iterative process. You're going to get some things wrong, and a month or 2 in, you're going to change things. So it's just important to know that like it's never going to be perfect and it's always going to be changing. So just be prepared for that and kind of just embrace that iterative approach. Just know that when you run into a roadblock or some kind of kink in the process, it's usually a good thing and it's going to make the website even better. And it just iterate on it. Don't aim for perfection, because you're in for a world of hurt. It's the most common mistake I've seen I've been building websites with Gorilla for almost 12 years now and doing it even longer than that professionally. And it's like the number one thing that holds things up is a tendency to like want perfection. And there's just no such thing. It's messy. The internet changes on a daily basis, maybe even hourly now. And so just embrace that. Don't fight it.
Yeah, so much good stuff here. Kevin, anything from you?
Yeah, don't create your wireframes with chisel and hammer, like I said in the chat. Keep it dynamic. And use common sense as well. I think that's a very underrated aspect to designing a website. It's just like if you were trying to buy something or learn something from your site, what would you do and where would you go?
Definitely. Common sense is always my argument for why certain things should go to the footer. People just know to look to the footer. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I think like the sitemap, we wanted to give that to you guys today because if this conversation has been interesting, this is a big project for Gorilla and we're going to be going through it step by step. Our plan is to launch by the end of Q2, so we'll see how that goes. But I'll be very transparent as we go through this. And if you want to have more of this sort of content throughout the year, we're in the wireframing stage right now. So we can have more sessions like this that go into specific detail. Yeah, just thanks for joining us on Industrial Marketing Collective Live today, Randall and Kevin. Folks I know can connect with you guys on LinkedIn. I know folks can connect with you guys on in the collective as well. So thanks again. Our next IMC Live, I've already mentioned it throughout the show, but that's going to be February 5th with the one and only Katie Pearland. And she is the Senior Director of Marketing at Flow Waterjet. And she's got a tried and true product launch approach framework that we're going to be talking about how she built that. Katie's also going to be a speaker at IMS. So if you're still on the fence about going, join us live February 5th and you'll get a feel for really that practical grounded session that I talked about earlier. So for the folks in the room, we just love seeing you. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. For the folks listening, thanks for tuning in and we will talk to you soon. Okay. Bye everyone.